Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sunday Brunch. I am your host, RM, here with you today, this beautiful Sunday morning. And of course, we have Russ Whitfield with us today. How are you today, Russ?
I'm good, thank you. And how are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm happy to be alive. I had such a great week, Russ. We had such a great holiday here in the US. It was Thanksgiving for us.
Hmm.
It always feels good. I always feel good after this week, but I never want this holiday to end, Russ. If it could stay Thanksgiving forever, I would be fine with it. So there is that, and of course, there's a bunch of people here. Russ, how was your week? How have you been?
Oh, it was good. Just normal stuff. But England played the USA at soccer on, I think it was Friday night, and I thought America deserved to win that game. I think England were awful. Um, and America were, well, I don't know if England were awful, if America just didn't let them play. But I thought the American team was outstanding, and they were unlucky not to get the 3 points, I thought. So
Well,
it's all to play for now, because if I think if the USA can win their next match, England only have to draw with Wales. But if America wins against Iran, which is a game that's fraught with history, I think they go through. So I think hopefully it'll be England and the USA to go through.
well, that is something to think about. I know the World Cup is going on right now. It's in Qatar. Is it Qatar?
It is, yeah.
Or Qatar, or I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it, guys, but yeah, it's a big deal. It's the most popular sport in the world. So I guess for those of us who aren't watching, should at least know it is going on. But it sounds exciting. I have not watched any matches yet, so there is that. But I most likely will watch the final. But I should say the last final that I watched was it was France versus somebody, and it was a while ago, and it was a pretty good match. So, but anyway, it's exciting, Russ, and it's great to have you here. Um, and let's
Who
say
else is
hello.
here? Yeah.
Yeah, let's see who else is here. We got Heath. He from Heath's Tabletop and Fantasy says, "Good morning. I hope it's a delightful Sunday brunch." Well, good morning to you, Heath. And
Hey,
we
Heath.
also have Joe Tyson.
Oh, yo, Joe, how are you?
Joe Tyson says, "Good morning, afternoon, all." Well, good morning, afternoon, all to you too. We also have Keely Chow.
Roll Tide.
Yes, Keely Chow, roll tide. Keely Chow says, "Hey, everybody, good morning." And of course, we have Retro Nerd Girl.
There she is.
Hi, Retro Nerd Girl. She says, "Good morning to everybody. I'm ready for Sunday brunch. I am glad you were ready. I have my tea ready. I don't have a delicious donut like you do, but it sure looks good there." Guys, check out Retro Nerd Girl's channel for all the great retro reviews on the stuff we love. Tom Jr. Jackson is here. How are you, Tom? Moderator, collaborator. We are all goof people. Tom, good to see you here as well. Dennis Mason is here.
Hey, Den.
Dennis says, "Let us take a moment and imagine presenting the homeless in your town with brunch." Aw,
Mm.
yeah, that is a very thoughtful thing, Dennis. Certainly something to think about. Um, and also, who else do we have this morning, guys? Let me see if I got everybody here. Mario Lopez is here. Hello,
Hey,
Mario.
Mario. Yeah, Portugal are also doing well in the World Cup, I think.
Yeah, I have a feeling you are watching the World Cup, Mario. Am I correct? It's just so good to see you this morning, Mario. Hope you are well. He says hi, everyone. Norwegian Kryptonian is here. Hello, Norwegian Kryptonian.
Hello.
Hope you are well. Good to see you here this morning. Thalia Meyer is here. She says, "Good morning and happy Sunday to all." Good morning, Thalia.
Hey.
We also have Nathan Trujillo with us. What's up, everybody? What's up, Nathan? Stubble McShave is here with us.
All right, Stubble.
Hello, Stubble. How are you? He says, "Hi, gang. I'll be popping in and out during the stream." Well, okay, great. Stubble, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you since Friday night. Um, and we had a lot to talk about. So, yes, Retro Nerd Girl starts off with something that definitely is something that I was surprised to see, that Irene Cara had passed away. She was in her 60s, Russ.
Oh, dear. It's
Um,
no age.
it really isn't. I mean, she was very young. That's young today. And she went way before her prime here, or before she should have. Oops, it's my alarm. it finally worked. Um,
Mhm.
but Retro Nerd Girl, I have to agree with you. I was shocked to hear about Irene Cara, and as you know, my promo is based on Flashdance, which Irene Cara sang the song "What a Feeling," which is a #1 hit in the U.S. Russ, how do you remember Flashdance? I mean, did you see that film? Was it big in the
Of
UK?
course, yeah, of course, it
Okay.
was huge. I mean, um, I think I've heard Rob talk about it so many times. These days there's so much stuff, but back in those days there wasn't. If you wanted big entertainment, you had to go and see it on a big screen. So yeah, I watched all of those films. What was the other one? Footloose, all of that stuff. But I didn't know Irene Cara did Flashdance. I know she did obviously Fame.
She
Uh,
sang the lead song called "What a
yeah,
Feeling."
do you believe it? Yeah, I know the song. Yeah, um, but yeah,
Yeah, and Dennis Mason, of course, yes, Dennis. He also is reminding us of the Fame, like you said, Russ, where I guess she also sang that lead song as well, Fame, the lead song to Fame, which is about the performing arts school in New York. And it was, I think it inspired a lot of people to go into the arts. I think that one film inspired so many kids from the 80s
yeah,
to
and it
go.
had the TV show as well, The Kids from Fame.
Yes, there was a television show, which was fantastic as well. Many of the original cast from the movie joined and became cast
Yeah,
members
it was
on the
Danny
television.
and Bruno and Leroy and all those Mr. Shurovsky and all of that. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly it. It was very much you're describing it to a T perfectly. And of course, if you guys have ever seen my promo, as I've said before, it's Flashdance inspired. So I love that era. Yeah, I wasn't even in high school yet when all of that was going on. So I was still very, very small and tiny and young. And it was great. Like it was fantastic to see what they were doing and I don't know whether they could match that because it was a story about these kids who desperately wanted to become famous and make it. And it's not that I'm saying that they haven't tried to or had other musicals, but there's something about Fame that felt very kind of bare bones, basic. That these kids didn't really have anything, and so they were coming to the school, and they hadn't even shaped what type of performers they would be yet for a
Sure,
lot
but
of.
the movie actually was very 70s in terms of its sort of darkness. I mean, yeah, there was singing and dancing going on, but I think the one girl got pregnant by mistake, and there was a story around that. And Leroy had all of these I mean, it wasn't. It was it had songs, but it wasn't a musical. And of course, the Kids from Fame was very much a primetime TV show and had none of that stuff in it. But I remember it was a bit like the original Saturday Night Fever in a way, which is famous for John Travolta being awesome in his suit and all that sort of thing. But actually, it was just a story about someone from Queens in a really really tough environment, and wanting to break out of that and not been able to. Um, so yeah, Fame was on a film of that ilk.
It certainly was, and I thought it was quite telling how Irene Cara's character in Fame, where of course she succumbed to the sleazy 42nd Street hustlers
Yeah,
who got her to do this kind of really cheesy skin flick. So she fell victim to
I'd
that
f-
because
I'd
she's a
forgotten that, but yes, I remember, and she was just sitting there, and they told her to get undressed, and she was sort of sitting there, and you can see she's nearly in tears. I can't remember if she does cry. It's been so long since
she is crying.
yeah,
Yes.
since I've seen it. Yeah, it's a long, long time ago now, but it was a powerful movie. More than it wasn't frivolous. I think that's the point. In the same way that Saturday Night Fever, I know the disco stuff is hilarious for some people now. It wasn't a frivolous movie.
Exactly, and if I remember correctly in that scene, that's of course there was nudity in the film where she actually has to take off her clothes or whatever,
Hmm.
and she's crying as we were just discussing, and she doesn't want to do this thing, and of course she's been coerced and completely brainwashed into doing it. So I thought it was very interesting that she would be the character who would fall into this because she seemed to be the one with maybe the most promise.
Yeah. Well, I think probably that was rather the point.
Mhm.
You know, how many people are there out there with all of this talent and potential and get coerced into these things or make the wrong decision or do the wrong thing, and all of a sudden that their career has gone and their life takes a completely different path, you know?
Absolutely. And, Tom is reminding us that there were TV shows with Fame 10 years ago. They remade it. So does Nathan talks about that. And of course, they had the movie, and the movie was so popular
Mm.
that there was a
It's
television
just
show.
it's another stunning example of one of these modern remakes that has really taken the public consciousness by fire. You know, I can think the same with, you know, with RoboCop and Point Break. They really made the same footprint as their original versions. Not.
Absolutely. Now, I haven't seen the remake. I'm sure it was great. I wonder if maybe they did it. Maybe they set it in LA instead. I don't know. But you're right, Russ. I had forgotten that it was in dirty, gritty. See, I keep forgetting that the New York of my youth was this dirty, gritty place that I love so much. So there is that. I keep forgetting that it was that. And Tom Jr. Jackson says she played Coco, which was
Coco, that's
character.
it. Thank you, Tom. You are a legend, mate.
So may she rest in peace. She was so lovely
Yeah,
and a talented woman.
and
I
has
would just
given us two songs. I didn't know that she did What a Feeling, but regardless of me not knowing she did it, those two songs, Fame and What a Feeling, will live forever. So she has left us
absolutely
a legacy. You know, I can hear "Fame, I can hear it in my mind as soon as Dress No Girl said, because I've been driving all day, so I hadn't heard the news. I was
yes.
actually listening to you in the car on the way
Are
back.
you
So
listening to me, Russ? That's
yes, I was. I always listen to you, Rita. You know that. Uh, but yeah, so rest in peace, Irene Cara. Thank you for the music and thank you for the memories.
absolutely. Certainly, we will remember her. With such fond memories. And I'm going to play my promo in
In
honor
honor, yes.
in honor of Irene Cara. I'm just going to play it because, guys, as you know, this was inspired by Flashdance, and a lot of Flashdance's appeal had to do with the music, which was a lot of Irene Cara's main song, and of course, the dancer who was not Jennifer Beals, ironically, another lady, a French dancer whose name escapes me. But I'm just going to play the promo right now. Irene Cara, this one's for you. And thank you to CJ for making that promo that Flashdance inspired, clearly a Flashdance inspired promo, because I love that film so much, everybody, that I asked CJ he said, what do you want your promo to be like? And I said, it's got to be like Flashdance, or, women working out in the 80s in really tight leotards and being very sexy. And he says, okay, here's your promo.
Was that film Perfect with John Travolta and Jamie Lee Curtis?
Yes, yes, that film as well, Russ. Something like that, something sexy, something very fit, very 80s,
Hmm.
very kind of like working out, wanting to be, very active and, kind of a positive, uplifting feeling. So I associate that film with that. Personally, even Flashdance had a heavy weight to it, Russ,
Mm-hmm.
in tone. There was another, and I remember very specifically, there was another girl in the story who was a dancer, and she also fell victim to the strip scene, Russ.
Hmm.
So there was that as well. So it did happen a lot. I wonder what it's like today. I have no idea what's going on with that. It used to be very definitive. You knew exactly where to go to do this stuff. I have no idea where people are doing stuff or what's going on. Things are so different, so crazy. Is it my OnlyFans now? Is that what it is? Um,
I don't know. I mean, I think movies are starting to lose a little bit of currency. There were the comments recently by Tarantino, weren't there, that, you know, the people in the Marvel films are not movie stars per se, but their characters are the stars of the show. I know that got some backlash and all the rest of it, but I think that I don't know if he should have been so direct about it, but I think the sort of broader point is kind of true. I mean, nobody's rushing to the cinema to watch the latest Chris Evans movie because of Chris Evans, or even Robert Downey Jr. that was proven afterwards when he I think he did Doctor Dolittle and all that kind of thing. But you bring out Iron Man and all of a sudden everybody's rushing back to the cinema. So I think he's got a point. I think it'll change over time, but talking of superheroes, before we get on to our main topic, that awful TV show that we've had 12 turgid episodes of which to drag ourselves through, I did want to touch on some superhero news because the past couple of shows really we've been all in on Cassian.
And hello, the
Um,
hidden. Nice to
oh,
see you
hey,
this
Hidden.
morning.
Um, but yeah, there's a couple of things that have happened in the past few weeks that I wanted to touch on around Peter Safran and James Gunn and the DC universe and the return of Henry Cavill and all of that sort of thing. Um, First of all, I am. There was an interview with Zack Snyder, and he turned around and said that he had not been contacted by Warner Brothers. Now, all those acolytes are saying, "Well, they've only been in the job for a few weeks. He's coming back. He's coming back." I don't think he is now. I think, as we've been saying all along, um, that while they'll continue with his cast, I don't think they're going to continue with him. He may come back in down the way. Perhaps I hope, but that's more of a hope now than a return of Zack Snyder, um, which is upsetting for some fans. And there's a lot of idiots in the Snyder verse out there that are boycotting this and all that. And frankly, we could do without those people. Yeah, it's pretty toxic. It's like, well, get behind it, man. We got Henry Cavill back. Yeah, this is like huge news. I'm so excited. It's Henry Cavill. We don't know where the thing is going, and that's an exciting thing. But what James Gunn has done, which we've never seen from Warner Brothers or DC before, is engaging with the fans and not teasing, just giving information that he can. So I know, we all love Zach, and Zach was famous for the teases along with Clay Staub and, like all these hidden messages and the seven chairs and all of these. But James Gunn seems to have taken an entirely different tact here and has done something that I personally am extremely grateful for. In that man has entirely torpedoed the fake industry of internet scoopers, and I was so pleased to see this. I mean, I think that there's scoops and there's insider information, and I think one of the guys that's really great at this stuff is Mr. H reviews. He never talks out the side of his face, right? If he knows somebody on the set, which he did on the Batman, he had contacts there, and the information he had was spot on every single time. And who was singled out for James Gunn's ire was Geekosity, a guy called Mikey Sutton, who has been on several channels, and I think rather pulling the wool over people's eyes, because if we went back 3 months ago and you and I said Henry Cavill's coming back, right? Was a pretty well educated guess that he was going to be coming back. We said no, he's coming back, and then he did come back, and we were claiming that we knew all along. Well, no, it's an educated guess, and I think what many of these scoopers are doing is just making guesses. Because I remember Geekosity and all of those people saying about 3-4 years ago, Kathleen Kennedy's definitely getting fired. We've heard this, we've heard that, and when it doesn't transpire, those things are never mentioned again. But when they do transpire, you always see, as I said back in October, and it's like, well, yeah, but you made a guess. And if you had made the wrong guess, we'd never hear about it. So I think James Gunn communicating in this manner with the audience, he basically he called them out, and I think Grace Randolph as well, by saying, look, I don't know if you're lying or if you're being lied to, but the only people that know what's going on for the DCU is me and Saffron, and that's it. Nobody knows anything about contracts. Nobody knows anything. Only we do. And I was like, yes, because this sort of hope-giving industry that has sort of sprung up around these leagues, especially with so Geekosity was very pro Snyderverse, and they'd be coming out with, yeah, Zack's definitely coming back, Affleck's definitely doing his 3 movies, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And of course, people like me will be lapping it up until you sort of took a step back and hang on a minute, this is nonsense. So I think that there's a lot of preying on people's hopes and telling people what they want to hear and making them come back for click after click after click. With, you know, you're literally just making stuff up. For a guy like Gunn, who's obviously busy doing contracts with Henry Cavill and please God Ben Affleck and all of that stuff, but we don't know. But for him to come out and address it and nix it, I thought was bravo. Thank you so much, James Gunn, for being honest and direct and not vague, not teasing, just saying you're either being lied to or you're lying. You don't know what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on except me. Brilliant. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that, but I was really happy to see straight, clear, concise, bullshit bursting information come out of the head of a studio.
Yeah, this is very interesting development, Russ. And this is something that goes back to something you were talking about what fans should expect. Let's say when an organization announces something, what should fans be expecting when something is announced? And one of the things that you said that I can't remove from my brain is that we've always just asked for honesty about what we're going to be getting.
Mm.
That as the entertainment provider, the well, most likely the number one thing fans want is when the show is being marketed, when a television program is being marketed, when any kind of event is being marketed, fans just want to know that what is being marketed to them, what they're being shown, is as it purports to be when they receive it. And for a while, Russ, we were getting shows where that promise, or at least what they said was going to be in it, wasn't quite what we thought it was going to be. As fans asked questions, as you know, companies decided to answer questions and kind of give out information. So I think this harbors back to it the idea of the importance of the studio. If it's not a studio, the company having control over what is being said about their shows. Russ, if it were years ago, you couldn't just come out and say whatever you wanted about not us, but other studio executives and other actors and stuff like that. It wasn't common to see a deluge of remarks, of opinions on the program, on a show. That was something that was shied away from because it does remove a lot of the control of the marketing of what it's going to be. And I think studios don't like that because it affects the bottom line. We've seen how the bottom line can get affected by a lot of things. And we've also witnessed how when the studio does need to make changes, if a certain impression has been given to people, it's difficult to make those changes if they have to. We've seen a lot of situations where it was out of the studio's control. They had to make changes, but now so many comments have been made about what was expected and what was promised. And, you know, it was almost as if a promise was broken when in reality, the studio can make those changes. They just didn't need everyone or every entity to know all of the details. It was proprietary information in the first place. No one really needed to know all of those details. They are not employees of the studio, and it's not their business to even be there. Now, I think it's interesting in regards to that and having that control. Now, the other element that I do want to comment on, Russ, and I do tread very carefully because, as you know, Russ, I don't talk about other YouTubers. And there's a reason why I just don't comment on what they say. I do listen. I do watch sometimes what they have to say. But the main reason why is because this is not a professional organization. We are people who are not employed by any one person. Many of us are independent researchers, and so to speak, we're independent contractors. We work and we get money from people who send us money to do this. Some of us don't get anything, but I don't comment on what they say. I just listen. And oftentimes I just listen, and I don't necessarily have a judgment on what they're saying. What I can say, though, Russ, is that there is a responsibility of being a professional if you decide to run your channel like a news organization. What that means is that if you take up the mantle and say that you are going to have breaking news on your channel, you have a responsibility to report it as accurately as possible. And what we've been seeing are, there's a difference between editorial reporting and factual news reporting. And I think that a lot of times, not perhaps not anybody who's watching right now, not you or I, but I think that a lot of people take many of these editorials, these short video versions of a report, even some of the writings, as being something that is set in stone. I think that, the judgment and the way that people are absorbing or looking at some of this is having a mental effect on some people. I saw an article recently, or a post on the Post Geek Singularity Facebook page, which is part of the Burnett Works page. And there was a member of the PGS who had said that they were disappointed in seeing the responses to something, and how upset they were at, what they considered to be disrespectful and inaccurate information about a film that was grossing money. And, they felt that some of the comments, where they felt that if this person was deciding to make 10 videos about it, that it was overkill, that it was too much, that, and so I think that there is, we have a group of people who may be reporting misinformation because they're taking information from what they believe to be the truth. But I also think that even if you do disclose it, and every single video that you're talking about is pure speculation, then it should be treated as pure speculation. If 90% of what your channel reports on is pure speculation, then let it be a speculative channel and leave it at that. But unless you are a lot of these companies that are getting the actual press releases or getting it from the studios directly, it's very hard to take what is being said and kind of listening to it as if it is something that is factual, for me in particular, Russ. So while I do listen to my fellow YouTubers, I do have to admit that I am very cautious about what I hear. So certainly, I think many people here are today. Many of the
Well,
people who are here are that way. I
I
think
don't
that,
think I don't think this is a YouTube channel. I think this is a news website that they run.
well,
So,
I'm gonna get to that too, Russ.
sorry.
Well, no, that's okay. And so I have noticed companies like Clownfish TV also have their own WordPress, websites, like Pirates and Princesses,
Hmm.
where they publish a ton of articles about different things. Even that type of organization, which I don't think they necessarily go too far, they're very clear about their opinions. And what they tend to do on their YouTube channel is that they review articles that they find, if not their own articles, other articles. But they also have a website where they publish written articles about what's going on at Disney. And they were criticized for being negative, for having
Mm.
too many negative articles. Well, all the news that they're publishing, unfortunately, is about unfortunate things that are happening on Disney, but it's not necessarily their natural tone. I think the couple at Clownfish are very positive people. I think what they want is change, and they want things to get better. So I think
Mm.
there is a difference in reporting. For some reporters, they're reporting things so that people are aware of it, but also in hopes that things will change. Now, I can't necessarily tell you the motivation for every single YouTuber's responses and the articles they write, but there is a difference between getting a scoop and saying that this is what is going to happen, versus an editorial where you might believe this could be the case and this is where things could go. I think that there are definitely some people who are insiders and do have that information, but we are seeing a lot of reporting that seems to be more definitive, and then later on finding out that what has been said is not true. I don't know how. I have to say that, I think it's interesting that the idea that, to make a video and to dedicate the time to do this, to dedicate the time to report on, this information, it takes time. It's like a concerted effort to make a video, to write an article that gives that perhaps approach or decision making process, saying, well, this is what we heard from someone on the inside. I think it's very cautious tale, because, it's it's speculation, and perhaps the way it's presented in as if it were perhaps factual information. I don't know what to think of it. And to be honest with you, Russ, that's why I don't necessarily watch as much, or, when I'm looking at some of these other reports, I don't always bother with them for that reason. I just assumed that it was someone's opinion and perhaps not necessarily a fact. I mean, that's how I look at it, Russ.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, the fact that the head of the studio, one of the heads of the studio, call this stuff out, means says to me that the effect is far-reaching, and I think it bodes well for someone like James Gunn, who was obviously a nerd, obviously someone that cares about the properties that he's talking about, and dare I say, cares about the fans and doesn't want the fans led up the garden path by different outlets, web magazines, whatever they are, making stuff up. And I think it was good that I think it was good that he called it out. I'm really happy about it because, I've been led up the garden path by these things before because I desperately wanted them to be true. And it turns out that it's all smoke and mirrors. And yeah, as I say, this is not another YouTube channel, but it was news, and I think we'd be remiss not to talk about it because James Gunn is a big deal. The takeover, the birth of a new studio is big news, and I think it's good for DC. I think that by him doing that, I don't know, man. It just gave me more faith and more hope. It was like, yeah, this guy seems to be on our side. I mean, the proof will be in the pudding when the films start to come out in the next three years or whatever. But yeah, so I thought it was noteworthy. We're going to see now coming up that the sort of last vestiges of the old regime at Warner Brothers with Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and The Flash eventually coming out, and then it'll be whatever they're going to give us next, probably Superman 2.
Mm-hmm. And this is very important because what Nathan is saying here, he has some good points here where he talks about not making the production budgets back, and
Mhm.
we know that this happens. I mean, this is a problem when films are made, and it's always something that they want. Maybe it'll make more money, Nathan. I don't know. And to be honest with you, in regards to Man of Steel, who knows what the next film is going to be called? So I don't know whether they would call it Man of Steel Part 2, but it is interesting to think about. But remember, guys, this is the first time in years that we have seen Henry Cavill himself talk about, what's going forward. And I think that he, as a communicator, is telling the truth in that regard. If anything, we know what his intentions are. Will it work out? We don't know. It's the truth, guys. We really don't know for sure.
Mm.
We're hoping that this happens. I trust James Gunn, like what you said, Russ. The studio needs to get control over how things are announced and how things are brought to light. And I think, going forward, we're going to see more of this, Russ. It's good that you brought this up. We're going to see much, much more of these studio
But I've
executives.
never really seen it before. I mean, sorry, Oren, for jumping in there. You saw it from David Ayer after the Snyder Cut was becoming a thing, and then he started to come out and sort of drop some truth bombs. But the big deal about this was there's nothing, they're planning. They're going to announce their plan in, I think, January, February, or whatever it is. But for the head of the studio to come out and say nonsense, we're working on it. That's all we can tell you at the moment, is a massive step in the right direction. It's almost like it could be a unifying factor for DC fans. This James Gunn guy, we know that Zack Snyder is divisive. Let's hope that this guy can bring the fandom together, and he can bring the fandom together by doing stuff like this, by dropping truth bombs on us from he is the source, he is the guy that knows, and if he's telling you this is so, there's no capital in that for James Gunn to make stuff up, right? What's he going to
There
get from me?
Exactly. And the other thing that it tells us is that he has control over the narrative, guys. He
Mm,
wants to be the one who's dictating exactly the way that this process is going to go. And there is nobody else inside who can contradict him. He's telling you right now, this is how it is. This is how things are going to be run. It's the way studios used to be run before, right, Russ?
Yeah, yeah, it really was. And we often talk about the sort of death of the movie star and all that kind of thing. There aren't really many movie stars left anymore. I don't know. I just think it was a massive step in the right direction. He's obviously an internet savvy guy. He's got his finger on the pulse. Because as a fan of these and a fan of Zack Snyder, who desperately wanted Zack Snyder to come back, and when they did that interview, and he said, "Yeah, I have given me a call. We're into it." No, he didn't say any of that. But I'm kind of the jury's out. We don't know what James Gunn and Peter Safran are going to do, but I have hope that they are going to do a good job, because people have been sort of saying, are all DC movies going to be sort of have that irreverent James Gunn stuff? No, he's a very talented man. Have you seen Brightburn? All his films aren't sort of quirky Guardians of the Galaxy s things. He understands comics. He understands that perhaps a Superman movie can't be the same tone as a Batman movie, or perhaps shouldn't be. I would disagree. I thought Superman Batman was Ultimate Edition was brilliant, but Gunn may well take a different approach, but he'll take the right approach. I think that's the thing. He knows the difference between Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman. He knows what speaks to people about that, and having him guiding this ship in a similar way that Snyder did, I guess, on Wonder Woman, the first one, 2017 one, when we saw the guiding hand of Zack in that film, and it was great. And then we saw Patty Jenkins left to her own devices, and Wonder Woman 84, not so great. I've got a bit of love for that film in it because it's so stupid. As I've always said about that film, I think what they were going for with Wonder Woman 84 was, if we made Wonder Woman in 1984, this would have been that movie, only with better special effects, because it's dumb and it doesn't make any sense, like many 80s movies. But yeah, I don't know if we need to catch up on anything in
Well,
the.
all I was going to say, Russ, is in regards to the comments in the chat, was that Tom and Nathan are concurring with what you said, and I think with what I said as well. I think it's interesting to look at this because we've been filled with speculation for all these years. It's been a bumpy ride of speculation for all these years, and perhaps the speculation is there's going to be an easement away from it, because with a comment like what James Gunn has said, there's nowhere to go. So it limits the speculation, limits what can be said. And that's a good thing. Hello, the Outcast Creative. I don't know whether it's Lance or who it is, but says afternoon, just got in. Hello to you, Outcast Creative guys. Check out
Hi.
Outcast Creative's channel. Check out Tom Jr. Jackson's YouTube channel as well, guys. The Outcast Creatives have a wonderful channel where they're industry insiders. These guys know what's going on, where they interview people in the industry, and also are heavily involved with actors as well. The Outcast says, "Hi guys, got to give a shout out in regards to rest in peace, Albert Pian, director of Sword and the Sorcerer."
Oh no, and Cyborg with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
I loved Cyborg. Um,
Yeah. Well, there are two cuts of that movie. There's a studio cut, um, and there's Pyan's original cut called Slinger, and I think you can get both of them now as a sort of as a box set, because Pyan's director's vision was not the film that we got. An entirely different take on it. But yeah, he was a famous B movie actor, Albert. I can't believe it's more sad news today.
Yeah, that is unfortunate that he passed away. And guys, here is the Outcast Creatives YouTube link right here in the chat. Thank you, Tom Jr. Jackson, as always. And a lot of people are talking about, Black Adam, which I haven't heard very much chatter about recently. Stubble makes a point that it's only on streaming right now.
Yeah, I saw some comments in the chat saying it hasn't made back its production budget and things like that. I don't know, because I keep seeing, I, one of my most famous Google searches at the moment is Black Adam a flop, and you get like a page 100 miles long. Some people saying it is, and some people saying it isn't. Um, I think Dwayne Johnson addressed this himself, and he said, "Yeah, I wish it had done better overseas," and he's done a bit of damage control by saying, "Look, we're we're building a brand. Yeah, you and I might know who Black Adam is and who the Justice Society are, but my next door neighbor doesn't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like they're trying to introduce whether that's damage limitation and the film hasn't done as well. You could look at it both ways, but again, The Rock has been very forthright coming out with information about this, and he's been, he hung the old regime out to dry over Henry Cavill and told it as it was, and say, they didn't want it, and we fought for years and years and years, and eventually we had to go round the back door and get it approved over Hamada's head and all of this stuff. So there's this pervasive honesty coming out of DC, whereas I guess Disney Marvel are quite closed mouthed about things, and they have official tweets and all that stuff. But there seems to be a bit more, not a bit more. There seems to be authenticity coming out of these guys at the moment. But Nathan makes a good point. Um, I think Black Adam will have a long half life of raking in some money when it comes to DVD sales and Blu-ray sales and the stuff on streaming and all the rest of it. So, and I hope it does, because it, it was sort of like DCU zero. It wasn't even like the first film. It was almost like a sort of crossover into the new thing. And I'd love to see the director's cut of it, because obviously there was loads cut out of that movie because it was ultraviolet and all the rest of it. But it was pretty cookie cutter Black Adam, and it almost served only to establish The Rock as the big bad, if you like, or the big threat. But also the big news was Henry Cavill coming back, and that's what got everybody up and running and excited about that movie, I think.
It certainly did get everybody up and running and excited about that film. And I think that no matter what happens from this point, remember, Black Adam had some of the worst marketing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, it was the worst marketing campaign. I went to the theater a number of times over the summer and in the spring of this year, and I saw the advertisements for it, and I was appalled by what I was seeing. I was like, this is not horrible. Like, this campaign is awful. And yet it was pushed through time and time again. It's a miracle that this film, came out and people went to see it. And I think that it would have performed worse if we didn't know that Cavill was in it. I think if people had found out by word of mouth that Cavill was in it after the fact, that it wouldn't have made the receipts it's made now. But honestly, Russ, that's one of the worst marketing campaigns I've ever seen. And yet people managed to go and see it. It's a miracle, because if it were 20 years ago, no one would have gone to see it after seeing those advertisements. It didn't look good. It just didn't sound good. It didn't look good. Even with The Rock in it, those advertisements for the film were incredibly disappointing. I mean, what did you think? Did you think that those trailers reflected what the film actually was?
I feared the worst, especially when the guy hits him on the head with the kosh, and the kosh bends and he throws him into the into the distance. And I thought, oh my god, this is really gone the way of Thor: Love and Thunder. This is like, is this going to be a comedy show? My god, what are they doing with Black Adam? I don't know if I'm saying that after the fact. I was excited to see it because of Superman. But that's all. And I think my daughter really summed it up. She said, "Yeah, I enjoyed it, but it's not a film I'd want to. I can see myself rushing back to see again. Not in the same way that I've watched Man of Steel, BVS, and Zack Snyder's Justice League over and over again, because I just love them. I think they're brilliant, and I enjoyed Black Adam, but it was marvelly for me in that way. I've always thought this about majority of Marvel movies. I really enjoy them. I'm not here as a DC fan to go, "Oh, Marvel films are crap." I've seen pretty much all of them. I enjoy them, but I find them very consumable. They're like a McDonald's. Yeah, you enjoy it at the time, and you've walked out of McDonald's, you forgot you had it. And I was very much like that with Black Adam. The most memorable thing of Black Adam was the awesome soundtrack and Henry Cavill. But you got to give it time, and this is what The Rock is saying. We're starting a new brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And The Hidden says, wow, even with an appearance from Henry Cavill struggling to make its production value back. And it's 100% for me because of that marketing. I think more people would have shown up on day one, regardless as to whether Henry Cavill was in it or not, if the marketing was better. So that's what I think. I think they sabotaged the film by having such a poor marketing campaign for it. It was awful. The Outcast Creatives has said that I can't remember the gentleman's name, was a good friend
Albert
of his,
Pyan.
and he managed to send him a farewell video thanking him for everything he'd done, which brought him to tears. Oh wow, that is quite a
That's great.
comment. Wow, that is something. And we're glad that you got that chance to say goodbye, everybody. That's the kind of director that I admire, who can get films made and have such an impact. It doesn't matter, I know you said there's different endings to Cyborg, but honestly, Russ, it's a classic. It's a classic. We're trying to recapture some of that magic that's in a film like that, and it's hard to recapture that, Russ. I don't know if it's a mindset or the time period, but the fantasy and the mysticism around being a cyborg in the 80s was very different than it is now.
Well,
Um,
and it
and
had Jean-Claude Van Damme.
it had Jean-Claude Van Damme, and I absolutely loved that film for many reasons. But yes, it had Jean-Claude Van Damme in it. Certainly was a different approach to these sort of these numerous post-apocalyptic style films we seem to get at that time. And I would never forget that film. It's in here. The Hidden says, I hope Wakanda Forever makes back its production value. We
Oh,
all
it looks like it. It looks like it's struggling.
all hope that. The Hidden, and I did, I think that the film is not comparable, not that it ever could be, to Black Panther. I think that Black Panther, for me, Black Panther was the height of the MCU. That was the last big film. I know that there was Endgame, I think, after that, and which was also good. But I think that Black Panther just came off as being more innovative. We'd never seen those costumes before. We'd never seen those characters in live action before, except for Black Panther himself. But you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Um,
but the sequels made it. It's made fortunes, isn't it? I think it made more than Black Adam in its first weekend than Black Adam did in its whole run. The brand is still going strong. But yeah,
Yeah, and so I think that in regards to Wakanda Forever, I almost think that they don't care whether it makes its production value back, because they felt that this was a film that had to be made the way it was, and that's what was important to them. This might be a film where, regardless of who's in it and what it says, it was a film that needed to be made in order to kind of dedicate it to Chadwick Boseman. That's what I
mm.
think that this film, they didn't make a I would have liked to have a documentary where the whole cast and crew talk about him. But this is what the direction they went in. Maybe they couldn't do the documentary. Who knows what the situation was, but this was it. This was the
I
film.
reckon you're right. I reckon that when the Blu-ray thing comes out with the special features, I'm sure there will be a massive tribute to him in the special features, and where you will see that.
Absolutely. Nathan Trujillo talks about Hollywood Reporter's story. I haven't read this story, but he says about Dwayne Johnson freaking out over a bad response at Comic Con. That's why he pushed for Cavill in the end credit scene. Honestly, Nathan, he didn't even get good promotion at Comic Con, if you ask me. I think that the tone all along for the marketing and promotion from the beginning to end was very poor. And if Dwayne Johnson himself had not kind of taken the reins at the last minute, Russ, practically the last minute, Russ,
Mm.
if he hadn't come out and kind of tried to self promote the film himself, which I think he was doing, and almost out of need, that it would have been even worse situation for them, bank wise, making money on this film. Even understanding, because I felt like Black Adam hit a lot of marks in films that I haven't seen for a while. That's why I enjoyed seeing that film. I mean, I'm gonna do a live watch party of that film coming up soon, just because I enjoyed it so much, because it was such a movement away from what we've been seeing. It was just, skulls being crushed, badassery. It was
Mm.
it was
One-liners,
yeah, it was
violence.
yeah,
It was just it was okay. It was okay. It's 3 stars. It's fine. It was nothing. There's nothing that any comic book fan can get the hump with that movie. It wasn't wagging its finger at people. At,
Mhm.
at the same time, it was plenty diverse. It had everything that you want and expect from a modern superhero film. But there was no real messaging in there or anything like that. It was just a flat out, there was hardly a plot, was there? It was just The
Yeah,
Rock
that's right.
killing people for 90
That's
minutes or
right.
2 hours or however long it was. It was great. It was
I
great.
think, and I think, Russ, that's what appealed to a lot of people. Although I was on a Zoom chat, and there was a fan who had said, "Oh, there should have been more of a message in in Black Adam. And I thought to myself, if there were, people would have been very upset with it and it would have made less money, in this particular case. The freeness of it, the
Mm,
removing any kind of pressure of this level of responsibility about what it's trying to say was quite liberating. And it just made you kind of have fun with it. You didn't take anything in it too seriously. Here is The Rock looking fantastic. And
mm.
many of the other characters, with the exception of the two young ones, looked fantastic. And we could just kind of enjoy this looking very masculine, getting that reaction of superheroes that actually look like superheroes was refreshing, was certainly a good feeling. And I think that it hit those marks. So it doesn't have to be a perfect film all the time. Certainly, Wakanda Forever may fall into that category. We didn't necessarily get everything that everybody wanted, but maybe it will make more money back, Russ, when it gets. If it does, special features come out, as you said, people will flock to it even more. Vicman de Santiago says, "Hey guys, hello."
Hey,
I think the speculation is fueled by studios making announcements and then canceling projects. Well, certainly, Vicman de Santiago, you make a good point. There are some studios that make a lot of announcements, like so many announcements.
that's weird, isn't it? Because that's quite topical in the oh god, which way? Bob Chapek's just been given the heave ho, and Bob Iger's just come back to Disney, and Bob Iger wasn't it? Didn't he famously rap KK on the knuckles by saying, "Look, you've just got to stop announcing Star Wars shit, and then it doesn't it doesn't come out. Just stop it until the film's been made. Then you can come out and say it."
Well, what was great about that was the fact that, of course, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I believe that employee went ahead and made another announcement shortly after. And I guess that should have been a clue that he I can't remember which guy he was on his way out.
Mm.
They had enough for me. I think that it crossed the line. I don't know if it's true or not, and I still don't even know if these employees are going to be let go. But when I saw that article about employees being laid off for Disney, it really broke my heart. I felt so badly for these employees. And I thought, this is just awful that this is happening, especially to a lot of these cast members, Russ, who
Mm.
really depend on this money. It's their livelihood. So I felt terrible for them. We still don't know if that's happening. In fact, that's the most important thing, as far as I'm concerned, in regards to the stories, because they really need those jobs. So for me, that's something that I think is really important. And we need those cast members at the parks so that we can have those immersive experiences. So there is that. OG's fan when Star Wars was just Star Wars says, "Good morning, and Russ." Hi. Happy day. My family chose to see at Black Adam in the theater instead of streaming because they were together for the holiday. Yes. And I sure hope you guys enjoyed it. OG Star Wars fan when Star Wars was just Star Wars. Let me know what you thought about Black Adam. Please let us
Mm.
know. It'd be interesting since you said you saw it for the holiday. It would be so nice. Tom Deere Jackson hasn't seen it yet, but he has the movie on pre-order for physical media release. Tom, you're gonna love it. It's gonna be fun. Neither
I
has the
think
Outcast.
I think you're right about the marketing. I'll be honest with you. If I wasn't sure or knew that Superman was going to be in it, I doubt if I would have gone to the cinema. Only that Sam and I go and see all DC films when they first come out. It's kind of a thing that we do. But if that wasn't a tradition, it what we saw in those trailers was not enough to get anybody excited. What was getting everybody excited was Cavill's return, and it must have been pretty late on because it was only really late on that The Rock started to let the cat out of the bag. As someone was saying earlier on, like he was disappointed with the reaction at Comic Con. Well, I think that people were disappointed because Deadline is normally nailed on. It's not a nonsense magazine that makes stuff up. It's an industry trade which has got an excellent reputation for news, and they basically said, yeah, Henry's going to be there, and I think the whole room was just waiting for Cavill to arrive on the stage and confirm his return to the DCU, and it didn't happen. And I think that must have been, imagine been there knowing that Henry's going to turn up. You've paid. I don't know if you have to pay to go into those halls. I mean, you would know. Because you've been to Comic Cons, right?
I haven't. I think for that one you have to reserve you make a reservation. You buy the ticket for the pass to get in, but you have to make a reservation for it. Some people do pay extra money to make sure they get into certain panels. Yes, it's
Sure.
true.
So imagine you've been sat there knowing, oh, it was in deadline, Cavill's going to be here, and then you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting, and then they say, well, that's it, guys, thanks so much. And it must have been a real downer in that room. And then then the Rock starts coming out with that I'm the most unstoppable force on the planet, but there are other unstoppable forces in the but the most unstoppable force in the universe. And then he did his eyebrow thing and all that, and basically confirmed it, and the hype went mad. We were thrilled, weren't we?
Yeah, I think that I understand what you're saying, and I do sympathize with a lot of those people at Comic Con who are going there for that reason. They want to see the stars. They think they're getting something, and the person doesn't show up, and that is heartbreaking. And I feel for them. I don't know how or why it turned out that way. And to be honest with you, Russ, it's unfortunate, but it seemed like Cavill was very specific in taking kind of a back seat for a little while until the film came out. There must have been some reason for this, and I don't know what the reason is, and it's okay. It's okay that that's the case, but it certainly did create a lot of fanfare. Um,
Maybe
and yeah,
politics, maybe politics. If you think, and being a not and being a team player, because bearing in mind that The Rock has fought to get this film to become Black Adam for years and years and years. It's kind of like his dream project, and he wants to establish his character and himself in the DC universe. And they're mates, and they kind of would know, or Cavill would know, if I come out and start giving it large, it is going to take all the attention off of my friend Dwayne Johnson, who's trying to reinvigorate this universe and has moved heaven and earth to bring me back to the role that I love. I wonder if there's a little bit of that going on, and say, look, we can't really. We People love Henry. We all know that. Let's not overstate it. Let's not go mad on the media, because the star of the show ultimately is The Rock, and it has to be all about him. I mean, all these guys have egos and all the rest of it, but you can kind of understand the thought process. It's like, well, do we want the soft launch of our new universe to be all about a 10-second clip? No, we want people to know and love Dr. Fate and Atom Smasher and Black Adam and all of this stuff. So maybe that's what it is. And I'm spitballing. I don't know that if
no,
that's true.
I think you make a good point because it Cavill seemed to indicate that he wasn't going to make a comment about the film until the first weekend, as box office receipts came in and everything, and then he kind of laid back a little bit, and then had those big announcements, those big, the interview at the 92nd Street Y, where
Mm.
he talked about it, and that incredible interview. I can't remember who he had the interview with, but he's actually looking at the camera, so it looks like he's looking at you. So
Hmm.
he's talking about stuff, and you're like, oh my god, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the best interview ever to watch, which I have watched several times. But he does mention that he's waited, and I did also want to mention, say hello to Means of Destruction. Hi, how are you?
Hey.
Good to see you. Yeah, it's something to think about. With Stubble mentioning that Wakanda Forever has now made close to 600 million, which is great news. We want to
Hmm.
see these films do well. Jerry Minoza Russ says, I'd like to see an Elric Milboni movie. I don't know who that is.
Melibini, Elric. Elric is a fantasy character, a bit like R.R. Martin. It's kind of a bit of an anti Lord of the Rings thing, Elric. And oh god, who wrote it? I guess the chat will tell. I can't remember his name
Yes.
now. The guy that wrote it, Michael Moorcock. And Elric is an albino prince or king of a fading empire of Melibini, and like he's a drug user, and because his race has become so into bred that they're sort of physically weak. But then he happens along a sword called Stormbringer,
Hmm.
and Stormbringer, when it kills somebody, it takes their soul into its possession and gives Elric their strength. But he's also sort of semi-possessed by a chaos demon. I think it might be unfilmable. Like, I'm trying to remember. I used to love those books when I was younger, but I literally can't remember anything about them now.
Yeah. Well, we hope it happens too. Sounds like an interesting character. The Outcast creative
Oh,
goes on
sorry,
to
before that, Hawkwind. There's a brilliant live version. Hawkwind, who are massive Moorcock fans, did a whole album about Elric, and the live version of it is absolutely fantastic. And you can get it on YouTube for free. I think, what is it called? Chronicles of the Black Sword live. So Google that if you like Elric. Chronicles of the Black Sword live. Hawkwind. It's top draw.
Oh, that's good to know. We got to put that one on our list. I got to put that on my list, Russ, to look that up for sure. And the Outcast Creative says some of Albert's other films worth seeing are Nemesis, Omega Zone, Mean Guns, Doll Man, and the awesome Tim Timerson. Transfer's dry hair is for
Was
squids.
was Nemesis the one with Olivier Gruner in it? Because he was brilliant. He was like sort of John Claude Van Damme light. Like he never really made it. But Olivier Gruner was in the special forces and a rock hard kickboxer. He is a phenomenal martial artist. That guy, and he's knocking on a bit now, but he's still out there, still making for. Yeah, he says, yeah, that's it. Yeah, I love Olivier Gruner, and he had a couple of films in the 2000s called The Circuit, about a fighter called Longstreet, Dirk Longstreet, I think his name was, and they're just now making a sort of direct to DV TV show about Longstreet, which I think is brilliant. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Mario Lopez says The Rock and Henry Cavill are doing all the good fight for DC. I hope Warner Brothers will do the rest and restore the Snyderverse someday. Well, so do we all, Mario Lopez and
So
Darth
say we
Vader
all.
here. Hello, Darth Vader.
Hey, Arve, Darth Plato.
And let's see. The Hidden says, I hear former U.S. Judge Joe Brown on YouTube shared his negative reviews of MCU's Wakanda Forever by describing it as only a treat for feminists. I don't know.
I don't know.
Um,
I didn't see that. I think all the things on. Was it on YouTube? I thought it was Twitter there for a minute because Twitter's been hilarious this this week. If you read the headlines,
and Nathan points out, he says he agrees with me. Oh, thank you, Nathan. You're so kind to do that about Dwayne Johnson taking the reins to market it. Yes. And, I think there are some actors who are more involved in marketing of their films. And one of those would be Tom Cruise, who has perfected the way to market his films. He spends every minute of every day working on this. And I do also want to acknowledge Stubble, who has sent me a super chat. Um, you are so generous, Stubble. Thank you so much.
thank you,
Um,
Stubble.
I so appreciate it. Stubble says, going away for a while, have a cup of coffee. I mean, thank you, Stubble. Thank you so much. You are so kind, Stubble. Stubble asked me something very important on Midnight Musings. He wanted to know what it would be like when Dedra and Cyril are together during their intimate moments after he rescues her, guys. And I should put on spoilers for this because we are talking about spoilers for Andor season 1 coming up. But Stubble, I'm going to answer that question for you. I do want to thank you, Stubble, for your generosity and everybody who has been.
That's really kind.
Yes, so
Especially because we don't have like thousands and thousands of people in the chat, so we do try to address you all, and there's no real requirement for people to make donations, but it's so wonderful that you do, even though you don't have to. So I think our room does so much work on this channel. Look, I just turn up hungover once on a Sunday, so I'm kind of like the guest on here. But if you look at all the content that our room does, not only on Positive Fandom, but also on Robert Meyer Burnett's channel and Midnight's Edge and all of these, she's providing entertainment for you guys. So I think it's brilliant that when you do show her some appreciation and buy her a cup of coffee, I think that's wonderful. So thank you.
thank you for that very kind comments, Russ. You also are a huge help to me, as is Tom Jr. Jackson, who is always there for me. And I do appreciate you as well as Tom and the entire community. Thank you, everybody, for pretty much making my dreams come true here. I so appreciate it. You guys are the best. And Stubble, you are the best, Stubble. maybe one of these days I'll travel out to your neck of the woods and certainly get a chance to see you there. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, Stubble. I know it's a busy time, but thank you. I will have a cup of coffee. So I'm going to go get myself some proper coffee here for Sunday brunch. Everybody, Stubble McShave, so generous. And we do
Dunkin'
appreciate.
Donuts is my favorite American coffee.
Oh, really? You like Dunkin'?
I like
Okay.
Dunkin'. Yes, I do.
Well, they make a good cup of coffee, Russ. And certainly the next time you're here, I will be sure to buy you a cup of Dunkin'
Yeah,
Donuts
well,
coffee
it might be
and a
sooner than
donut.
you think.
Really? And a donut,
Mm.
Russ. And a
Oh, and a
donut
donut, absolutely.
for sure. Oh, we also have I can't say this. Goji Rastar 5477. I can't say it. Says that San Diego Comic Con was fun years ago. Yeah, things have changed quite a bit.
Is it Gajira Star? I'm gonna go with that. Gajira Star.
Thank you so much for saying that. Yes, Gajira Star. Excuse me. Yes, thank you so much for stopping by. We hope you are well. You are welcome here. And Bye Forward to Hobbit says, hello, Art
Hello.
and Russ and Tom Jr. Jackson. Hello to you, Bye for. Darth Plato says, Cavill sounds like Elvis. Ah. And Darth Plato says, please hit the like. Guys, please do like and subscribe to Positive Fandom. Guys, if you are enjoying what we are talking about today, certainly do like and subscribe here. And check out
Sorry,
all the.
I must shout out Darth Plato who's bought my second book and is manfully struggling his way through that one as well. So thank you very much, Darth Plato. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate the feedback. And I hope you're enjoying it more than the first one. I think it's better, but thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it.
Yes, guys, in case you didn't know, Russ is an author. He is the author of the Gladiatrix series, a series that you must check out if you like Roman times, everybody. Certainly do check out his information. It's in the bio, in the description of this video. Please do check it out. You're going to love it. And I'm sure Darth Plato will concur with that. Certainly do pick up the Gladiatrix series. It's 3 books. A fantastic read, guys. You're not going to regret it. Please do check it out today. And we also have, and I don't know if I said hi to him. Maybe not. Bonzo Kilborn. Did we say hi to Bonzo
No, we
Kilborn?
did not. Hello, Bonzo.
Bonzo says, time to make the donuts. Absolutely, Bonzo. It is that time, isn't it? And I think this might be a good time to segue to, what we've all been waiting. Well, I've been waiting to talk about this. And I have a feeling that a lot of you are eager to talk about it. I do want to mention there will be spoilers for Andor season 1, but I am going to play my promo. It is we actually over an hour already, Russ.
My
Can you believe
goodness.
it? I'm going to play my promo and we are going to be right back. Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for watching my promo. As I said, that was made by CJ, who I asked him to make a Flashdance inspired promo. And that's exactly what I got, was something amazing from CJ. And thank you, CJ, for that. Guys, this is Russ's Amazon page. Go ahead and pick up the book here for the Gladiatrix series here in the chat, everybody. Please do check it out.
Tom's going the extra mile there. Thank you so much.
Now, Russ also has his own website at russellwhitfield.com. So you can also find out more information about Russ there as well. So please do check it out, guys. So I did want to mention that we are going to be having some spoilers for Andor season 1. Russ, have you watched the final episode of Andor?
I have, but you've missed the super chat.
Is it? I got another. Is it this one?
Yes, you got another one.
Oh, another one?
Yeah, from Norwegian Kryptonian. So you have one from Stubble and now one from Norwegian Kryptonian.
Oh my
So
God.
all the super chats are coming in from Scandinavia.
Oh my gosh, I'm popular in Scandinavia. Who knew? Wow, wow, Norwegian Kryptonian. Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Norwegian Kryptonian. Maybe I ought to go visit Scandinavia one of these days, Russ. Maybe I ought to go over there.
You're a big star, clearly, but Norwegian Kryptonian, that's amazing. Thank you.
Yes.
It's for our own, but your generosity is incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I had no idea. Maybe I am hitting all the marks over there, Russ. Maybe I ought to rethink my plans going forward, Russ.
Maybe so.
I had no idea I was a hit there, but I'm just getting a kick out of this. Thank you, Norwegian Kryptonian. You certainly have made my morning. It is so wonderful to see your generosity. I will buy myself something nice to that coffee. I so appreciate it. I love Scandinavian generosity. Norwegian Kryptonian. I just want to put that out there. So thank you so much for that. I hope you are staying warm wherever you are. And I certainly will get something nice with that coffee. And I will be thinking of you as I am eating it. So there. Thank you so much. And, of course, just so wonderful to have you all here. This is so kind of you. Thank you. So appreciate it. The outcast is gone for the day. Well,
Bye,
we will
Lance.
see you later. And oh man, Lorena Creole is here. Hello, Lorena. Um, oh wow, Lorena. Well, first of all, Lorena, it's such a pleasure to see you here this morning, as always. We hope you are well. Guys, subscribe to Lorena Creole's channel. I do stream with Lorena quite often. She is wonderful. She's also on this show on Monday and Ladies of the PGS on the Brrrr Network. Robert changed it back to the Brrrr Network. So don't worry, it says the Brrrr Network. It is the PGS, Ladies of the PGS on 6 p.m. on Eastern time on the channel. So do check Lorena and I out this Monday. I
Yeah, I'm
promise
trying to
you,
line you up an interview for Ladies of the PGS, by the way.
I am so excited about that. Russ, you are so kind to do that.
Hopefully
Lorena,
it will come through.
well, first of all, thank you for even thinking of that. Lorena says, "Good morning, everyone. I think the only way I'm going to watch Andor is if Positive Fandom watches it with me." Yes, absolutely. Yes, of course. I will do that. Oh, I got excited. I get so excited. Yes, I would love to do that, Lorena. Let's do this. And I may even dress in costume for this one. I got to dress as if I'm going to that Mon Mothma's party, guys. I have more episodes. I haven't filmed those yet, but there's quite a lot that's happened, on Coruscant, guys. Wait till I tell you all the scoop about what's going on at Coruscant with everybody in Andor. So check out my channel for my series, which is essentially the Coruscant Corner, as I tell you all the scoop that's going on with the people in Coruscant and in the Star Wars universe. From behind the scenes, guys. That's right. From behind the scenes stuff you guys don't know. So,
All the gossip from Coruscant. It's some good stuff.
all
It's
the
juicy stuff. I'm wondering, in a sort of James Gunn-esque way, is Palpatine going to send out a tweet saying, "I don't know where you're getting all this from, but it's not true," and you'll be like, "Yeah, it
I
is
wouldn't
true."
be surprised if Palpatine had a lot to say about what's going on, because this certainly was not in the plans.
Mhm.
And I think he's going to have to rethink some things. You're taking all the fun out of being, in charge, guys. So,
Mhm.
he's not all too pleased with how things are going down. And if I were Dedra, she might have to rethink her career plans if she doesn't come up with something pretty fast to save herself. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to say anything else because Lorena hasn't seen it. Some of you guys haven't seen it. It will be a spoiler discussion. So I do have to warn you guys.
Yeah.
Going forward, we're going to be spoiling stuff. So if you have not seen Andor, we are going to be spoiling it. So if you don't want to be spoiled, if you don't want to know all the stuff going on, I suggest you tune out. You have a few seconds before we do this. So we are going to be spoiling Andor. Now, Mikey Lito is here. Good
Hey,
morning.
Mikey.
Mikey Leah says, "Everyone, sorry I'm late. Stayed up to watch Fame in memory of Irene Cara." Oh, Lorena, we probably need to watch Fame too. But what an amazing film that was, with all these memorable performances. Remember my name. Yes, of course. Mikey Lito. We do remember Fame with so much passion of these young performers, these talented young
Yeah.
performers, Mikey Lito, that really were incredible to see. It did feel like a Broadway musical to me. I know it wasn't Broadway, but that's maybe their goal to make it big for those entertainers. So it was so nice to see your devotion. I should have done that last night. Rogue Thinker is here today.
Hey, Rogue.
Rogue Thinker says, I'm glad lots of people like Andor, and it's better than most of the Disney Star Wars stuff. For me, I'm not interested in a side character from a movie that was just all right. Okay, fair enough. And you know something? This is exactly the type of critical comments we like, because you know you're just being honest about what you're interested in, what you're not interested in. And you know what? This world has what, 8 billion people now, Russ?
Something
And
like that.
everybody has different desires and likes. So we know there's going to be that going forward. You certainly make a good point, Rogue Thinker. And it is good to see you, Rogue Thinker. It's great to see you this morning. So Russ, Russ Stubble is back. Well, Stubble, once again, thank you for the super chat, Stubble. I gotta cook you dinner one of these days. um, but what I was gonna say is, Russ, as I said, we are gonna have spoilers for those of you who have not seen Andor. We are gonna be talking spoilers about the end of it. So I do just want to say that, Russ, you saw the entire first season of Andor. Uh,
Yes.
please tell me whatever you want to say about it. What are your thoughts?
Oh, it was awful, wasn't it? It's just the worst thing to ever come out of Disney. So come on, man. That show. And apparently no one's really watching it because they've been so burned by sort of Star Wars in the past that this show has just not gathered any traction. I do understand they're making a second season. They've started shooting it over here, I think, which is fantastic. I'm so happy it's getting a second season. Long may it continue. Where to start? How am I going to? Okay, so I think Dedra is my favorite Star Wars character. I think she is awesome. I love Dedra Miro. There, I've said it. I think she's great. She's just great. The actress does such a brilliant job of performing her. Yeah, she's brilliant, and she's brilliant because of the situation that she's in. So I absolutely love her, and I want her to go far. What did I think of the series overall? Yeah, 10 out of 10, obviously. But this last episode, the way they brought all of the disparate, um, plots together, and we all knew that it was all going to come to a head on Ferrex, the Rick's Walk, and how it was going to run and all that sort of thing. But there's so much going on in this show. I was reminded when I was watching it of how you can look at this show, as a comment, a political comment on certain things. You really can, because it is there. There's no doubt. Um, when you have like a guy making an IED and throwing it at troopers, there's some commentary about imperialism and all that kind of stuff going on. If you want it, if you don't, it's still a fucking amazing espionage action, character driven show. So there's lots of stuff. There's so many layers to Andor. It is even if it wasn't set in Star Wars, it would still be brilliant. I loved the fact that they brought his mum back for that speech. I was like, how are they going to handle this? And of course, they did it with a hologram, completely in tune with the law. This whole thing about the bricks, and how people get, turned to ashes and made into a brick to become part of the community that they supported, and they still will support after their death, and how that brick was the first stone that was cast in the rebellion. Oh, that was really clever. It wasn't on the nose. It was just a clever metaphor for her speech igniting a rebellion, and the first stone was cast, and it was her stone. I thought that was awesome. Um, One thing I noticed about this show in the last few episodes, so I can hear myself now. It's weird. In the last few episodes, remember we were talking about this. Andor is a very passive character, and that's apparently, if you go by conventional screenwriting wisdom, that is a terrible way to write a character. Characters should be driving the plot, but with Andor, shit just happened to Andor, and he was kind of paid to do this, trying to get away from that. But in the last episode, you know, when in the prison, things started to change, and Andor actually started to have some agency and start to make decisions. The payoff of which is over this 12-month period, you have seen him go from this horrible man. I remember I said he's a horrible man, like he's nothing, you know, he's not even an anti-hero. This guy is an out and out shit, and he has gone from that character with no scruples and no morals, and only caring for himself and his immediates, now to a man that has seen so much and had suffered so much and had so much taken away from him by the Empire, that he is now prepared to lay his life down for the rebellion. That is a character arc. That is a character arc right there. And it was chef's kiss good. This episode, it just had so many great things in it. I'm fanboying so hard over it. Um, the way that oh, there she is. The way Mon Mothma, people, I've seen comments on Mon Mothma selling her husband out. I don't. I think there's a, for me. Okay, this is my take. I think there's a misunderstanding going on there. She's not selling him out. She's covering her own ass, because ISB know that he's got a gambling problem. ISB know that she's moving money around, and the ISB officer that Dedra's superseded now, sort of said, "Oh, that must explain this weird stuff with the credits." And the thing was, you know, that husband's like a real sort of bon vivant, hedonist sort of party boy with his excellent hair, right? And he's going, "I'm not gambling. What are you talking about?" She's going, "Yeah, yeah, I don't believe you." And he's like, "No, I really haven't." And he's telling the truth. And she knows that the spy is listening to her, and it's given her a sort of out, you know, like, evidently he's got a gambling problem. Maybe he certainly wasn't gambling then, but it's plausible. She's now got plausible deniability to what to do with her money. And I think this photograph is really, actually, I saw some commentary on this, and this is really quite funny, isn't it? If you can see the sort of disgust in Mon Mothma's face at what she's prepared to sell up, the dad just is probably hungover and doesn't care, and the daughter's quite excited by the whole prospect. You know, it's literally all there in a single shot, because that's what Andor does so well. It's got so many layers. Like, there's nothing happening in this show by accident.
Look,
And
I know she's a young girl, but if when I was a teenager, my parents brought me to meet another teenage boy, I think my heart would have exploded. Like, this is like so exciting. The idea that your parents would be hooking you up with some other cute kid is not necessarily something that would turn off a girl. At least I don't think it would. I don't know how the other ladies in the chat feel about it, but he looks like an okay kid. You know, it's true. His dad is a gangster, so be it. But Russ, you know, I think there might be a little bit more to this connection that Mon Mothma doesn't like. And you've mentioned before that she doesn't want her daughter to go through what she's going through.
no, she doesn't. But you know what? We were talking about small details. What's the name of her home planet? It's gone out of my mind.
Shalandra,
Yeah,
Shalandra,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Shalandria.
right. I
Sorry.
love the fact that they're mostly redheads. Like Davos is also a redhead. Is, you know, she's a redhead. The daughters. I just love that they've just put these little cultural things in there. So most of the people from Chandrilla are
Shan-
redheads. I love that. I love that little, just that little thing that they've done there. But back to the show. Okay, so here's the thing that's happened in Star Wars that doesn't normally happen in Star Wars. When the riot starts, Dedra's caught up and swept away from the Death Troopers that are defending her. And what doesn't Dedra do? You know what she doesn't do? She doesn't kick ass and do karate and take out 15 rebels on her own. She gets kicked to the ground. Her gun gets kicked away, and she is in fear of her life and panicking. And Cyril comes and saves her. And Cyril's a man. And a man came into a show and saved a woman who was not able to deal with a situation. That's huge for Star Wars to do that. What's more huge is that fucking Andor does it as well. He rescues Bix. You've actually got men, heroic roles, saving the women that they love in this case, I guess. But to see Dedra, who I really thought was going to be a karate expert. I just figured she's those two guys are so obvious, you know, that the Death Troopers, that they are going to be shunted aside, and she's going to prove, and she absolutely didn't. She absolute that they've nailed that character. She's not a fighter. She's a imperial officer. She's
Yeah,
not
she's
a
an administrator. She's an
yeah,
administrator. She's not.
supervisor. Yeah, she's a
Yeah,
supervisor.
she
But
doesn't
you know how
fight.
these things always go. Like they're always karate experts, and she's not an ass kicker. And the fact that Cyril saved her, and all Cyril's dreams are going to come true. Like my plan for Cyril to become an imperial officer, it looks like it's going to be borne out, because there's a job vacancy now, isn't there? Although that spy that they had, his hat looked really imperial. It's kind of like, if you're supposed to be a spy, why are you wearing an imperial hat? But he got offed. And I love how they portray the Empire in this show as like they're not all hand cackling evil bastards. Like the riot kicks off, and what you'd expect to happen if this show had less aplomb and less skill, that the Empire would have just opened up on them straight away. They didn't. They had riot control, and the guys going, hold the line, contain them. No one's shooting. No one is shooting, right? They're just trying to stop the riot. It's only when the IED gets, and it was a huge metaphor, that the IED gets thrown and Imperial soldiers are killed, is when the Imperials open fire.
Hmm.
Brilliant.
And
It's not.
hello to
Sorry.
John Ware Jr. I'm sorry, I just want
Oh,
to say.
hey, John Wayne Jr. Um, God, what else? The music, the way that the music in the show has developed. I didn't notice it because I'm not a very musical person, but people saying that the theme tune changes, and it's almost like the theme tune is like has hidden meaning now, and if you play it all back together, you can sort of follow the series through the theme. I just can't say enough good things about it. And these guys here, as I said, they believe in what they're doing. They believe in law and order as the Empire would have it. Now I know that that's obviously the Empire's evil and all that stuff, but when you take the sort of the broad brush of black and white, good and evil, Star Wars swashbuckling strokes away from it, this is realistic. These are just soldiers doing what they're told to do. She needs to purge the galaxy of these people. It's going to disrupt stability. Look at what these rebels have done on Ferrix. Look what they've done. And this is an important hub. It's a manufacturing hub. This is what happens when we lose control. This is precisely what we are here to stop. And you can see it from their perspective, and I love it. And now you've got, I think, with Dedra and Cyril, both of these people seem to be a little bit emotionally immature. Like Dedra seems to have devoted her whole life and her whole career in a male-dominated environment, and she's fought her way to the top and all that sort of thing. And she doesn't seem to have had any time to have a normal relationship with anybody, because it always struck me in that conversation, when Cyril's stalking her,
Yes.
he just, and he's obvious, does he fancy her? What? And she just doesn't know how to react to him. She's sort of almost intrigued and repulsed and fascinated all at the same time. And Cyril seems to be also very emotionally repressed. I guess people have been speaking about his mum and all that kind of stuff and keeping him down his whole life. And he's also a very repressed character with his fancy uniforms and all that. And neither of them know, are they attracted to each other? Does Cyril just want a job? I don't know. But the show doesn't give us any answers. There's no scoundrel Han and Leia kiss in this. They're just sort of like in there, and they're going to stay there until the riot finishes, and he's got a gun and he's going to protect her. And she says, I suppose I should thank you. And I think that's just set Cyril up for his job. And what was really sweet in this as well, talking about the Imperials as real people, Cyril's only friend is that sergeant. Like, that's his only friend. And there's this little tiny sequence on the bus, the space bus, when they're going down to Ferrix, and he looks at Cyril, who we know is like really prim and proper, and he's got this shit hat on, and he looks at his own hat, and he gives Cyril the nice hat, and he takes the shit hat because he's the sergeant and Cyril's the boss, and he knows that Cyril likes oh man, and the end of it, when he packs, I thought, where is he going? Why is he packing them all off on the shuttle? And then he goes back and confronts Luther. I thought he was going to kill him, and I was kind of hoping he would. I was very surprised at the lack of death in this one. I really thought some people were gonna get get written out to drive the story forward, but nobody did really. And it's that smile that Skarsgård gives at the end, because he sort of realizes, it's almost like he's happy he doesn't have to kill him, because he
Right.
realizes that Andor's in. He is now in. He's no longer a loose cannon. Now he is a trusted operative. So I thought it was shit. No, I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
There is a lot to say about this series, mainly because I guess there are a lot of people who it just isn't their cup of tea, and I get that, and I think it's important to mention that not everybody's going to watch it, and it's okay that not everybody's watching it. We're totally, we get that, and for a long time, there are different things that I sometimes even just like feel in the mood to watch, and at other times I don't.
It's weird though, isn't it? Because we all have our own biases, and I wish more people were watching this, personally, selfishly, because I want more stuff like this and less stuff like Obi-Wan and Book of Boba Fett. I could do without that, and I could do with
Absolutely.
more of this.
Absolutely. And I do just want to, Stubble talks about how he ordered 3 Andor themed t-shirts. The Narkina 5 swim team, the Nightmare Spice and Luthen Rael artifacts and antiquities, as well as Dresden Files t-shirt. I have a lot to say about the Luthen Rael artifacts and antiquities store. So do check out my channel on what I say when I go to Luthen shop. It definitely is a unique experience. And if any of you guys get a chance to go to his shop, I promise you, you won't be disappointed in that. But even Stubble has picked up some things from there. We also saw, check out Mikey Lito's channel, everybody. John Ware Jr. is here, and he says, hey, make sure you get your intergalactic champagne flutes when Lorena and I will be watching.
And you can buy your champagne with your Scandinavian donations.
Absolutely. We're going to be using that donation from Scandinavia. And thank you guys. We will be in our outfits dressed to the nines for Mon Mothma's party, because we will be appropriately ready when needed. Tom Jr. Jackson says, Dedra, she's the she-wolf of the ISB.
There's a movie I would watch.
And also, we also have a comment here. Darth Plato says we need a Luthen series. I have to say something that's very unique that seems to have happened for me in particular has to do with, and Tom Jr. Jackson is also letting us know series 2 of Andor is filming right now till the end of next summer, with every 3 episodes will be a time jump. That's great to know, Tom Jr. Jackson. Bonzo Kilborn has just rewatched Rogue One and wondering how they were going to get Andor from the guy to where he is in the movie. Seemed like a more mature fellow, definitely. John Ware Jr. gives it an 8 out of 10 for the first 3 episodes. Could have been condensed into an episode and a half. Lord Toth is here with us. Hello. Lord Toth. Good to see you. And I do have quite a lot to say about this. Mike Alito sums it up very well. Cassian is somewhat of an accidental gunslinger, but I do want to elaborate on that, Mike Alito, because Marva adopted him. And from what we've learned now, Marva is a rebel, and it's been in her blood for a while. She was going from, planet to planet, all through the galaxy, scavenging stuff. She knew what the Empire was doing all along. She's not too different from Luthen in having that information where she knew what was going on. And very clearly, this nature, this desire to rebel against the Empire was in her. And at some point, she must have said this to Cassian. And we didn't need to see her saying, Cassian, you need to, we didn't need to see those moments. But at this point, from her reaction and the way she's behaved, we can reasonably deduct that at some point while she was bringing up this boy, when she found, first of all, Cassie was a beautiful child. So, she knew they would kill him if they found him. So she wanted to take him and protect him and have a child of her own. So it's true. She did that. She took him for herself, but he turned out to be a beautiful man. And while it is true that has some very negative connotations connected with him, he's very attractive. So I'm just going to say that if he knocked on my door, I'd let him in. If he wanted to borrow money, I'd give it to him. So there. But there's something else about him. There's something special about Andor. And while he has made mistakes, he's very charismatic, and that's what gets him through the door a lot of times. That's why he's so successful in doing these operations, because he has this special talent to figure out how to get into things. But it's
Sure,
stuff
but
he
he's
learned from
ruthless and
Marvel.
he's ruthless and a survivor. This is the point.
Yes,
But
and
he
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 has
has no cause. His cause is his own
Well, I'm going
gain.
to say that initially, if he followed what Marva taught him all along, that he did have a cause, but he didn't want to do that. He wanted to be himself, and he wanted to find his sister. And this just wasn't anything he wanted to get involved in. And now here's a second person telling him he has to go ahead and become a rebel. Oh my goodness. It's like everybody's coming down on him. Give me a break. No wonder he pushed back hard initially on
But he
this.
made the choice in the end. Like, he must have been reading the book. Oh, I forget the guy's name, the
The
character's name.
manifesto.
The
And so
manifesto.
we find out in one of the episodes, and I'm sure every single one of you who watched this knew that when he went to pick up his stash from Namos, that he was listening to the manifesto. But it took me 2 episodes later to figure out that he was listening to the manifesto all along on his communicator or whatever that thing was, especially when it had said something like tyranny is such and such. And I'm like, wow, that's an interesting song he's listening to. No, he's been listening to the manifesto all along. That lets you know that he was actually listening to it, but it took me a while to get that. But that's okay, because sometimes it takes me a while to see stuff like that. But that's okay, guys. I think that they made a good way. They did a wonderful way of telling us when things are happening. There was no marketing problem with this series. There was no issue with quality over quantity. It was everything was done right. There were no under the raincoat mistakes and the barrier that you could just walk around. There was none of that crazy stuff. The fan base has been respected through this entire series. We haven't gotten any crazy comments from any of the actors about how bad the fans are and how we suck. Nothing like that. This is probably Disney's most well-planned show to date. It took an enormous amount to get this show off the ground, and it shows. I think that they have more success, is what I said a few days ago, in more of an episodic style show. Anthologies, not so much, but it seems like they're able to get or comfortable doing this. There wasn't the argument between the director. There wasn't an argument between the showrunner, because they're related, right, Russ? They're related.
Yes, the Gilroy brothers.
So there wasn't that situation. Darth Plato, this is a question that I was asking. Will Daedra still have a job after this? Who knows? But I think it's great that they are streaming this on multiple platforms. In fact, since they own Channel 7, ABC near where I live, I would have shown the first 3 episodes on Thanksgiving Day on ABC. If I were Disney, that's what I would have done. Hey, guess what's happening on Thanksgiving Day, right after the parade, guys? Watch the first 3 episodes of Andor. That's what I would have done if I were a studio executive. That's just me. People would have watched it. They would have liked it. Hey, the show isn't so bad. Gee, maybe we should subscribe. Go ahead and do like a $1.99 subscription to Disney. Offer it to people. They could have picked up a ton of people with a promotion like that. I think multiple streaming would have been something that would have definitely benefited them. And I think that if Disney can keep up this attitude that they have with Andor, I think that things will go far. I think that certainly the writing was incredible. You guys are making such great comments. I think that Cyril will have to work out something with Daedra to work out how she can keep her job, because this is a huge misstep, maybe the biggest misstep since the Empire. And they might be a little blind to what's happening because they have that big raid at Spellhouse. They may not even care. This might be, small thing to them right now. Spellhouse will be the big thing because they think that they've captured Axis. Andor isn't as big as Axis. Axis is supposed to be the leader, so maybe she'll get off the hook by happen.
Well, yeah, but the mission was to capture Andor, and I think that they will not be able to talk down the fact that that this riot kicked off. Dedra's not responsible for that. You know, that the ISB on the ground should have been reporting that there was a fermenting rebellion, and this is what Dedra has been saying all along. You know, we have to stamp this out. There was no reports of any of that, so hopefully she'll be off the hook, because her mission, and she would have captured Android had it not kicked off in the way that it did, and bombs flying around and all the rest of it. I don't think she could have mitigated that, because there was no evidence that was going to happen. It just, a riot happened, and that's it. I hope that that's the route they go down. I'm kind of hoping that they don't turn into rebels and join the cause. And Darth Plato asked what Cyril's arc is. I think it's anti-heroic redemption for Cyril, isn't it? You know, Cyril, all he wants is to be a good citizen. He, you know, and he tried to do the right thing by arresting this murderer, and it went horribly wrong, and his life has gone horribly wrong, and he's doing everything he can to redeem himself in his own eyes and his mother's eyes, and I guess, you know, to finally gain some respect. He wants to be an Imperial, and I think that's what he's going for, and hopefully all his dreams will come true.
Yes. I think that my main concern with the series has always been that I didn't want to see Andor suddenly become a rebel. It had to be an organic process, just like what you were talking about, Russ. And Tom Jr. Jackson does alert everybody to know that tomorrow at 6 p.m., we will be on the Burr Network, Lorena Creel and myself, for our Ladies of the PGS show. So please do check that out, everybody. And Mike Alito points out that Kino Loy couldn't swim, and it's being left to our imagination to decide what happened. That is very true. Also, Robert has his show coming up today. Let's Get Physical Media. You know, I think Darth Plato, when you talk about I'm forgetting what he said.
You're talking about Cyril's arc.
Yes. I think that Cyril is going, unfortunately, Daedra is going to have to ask Cyril for help even more now. So he saved her, but she also needs his help with other stuff. And she can spin this and say, well, we didn't catch Andor, but we have the person who has actually seen Andor. We have him, and he's working with us now. And, you know, we know that if he can work with us with his experience of actually having seen Andor, we will
and Luthen.
And Luthen. But here's the trick. I don't think he could decisively say that Luthen was on Ferrix. I don't think he saw Luthen. I don't think he even saw Andor, meaning Cyril. I don't think he saw either of them that day. But I also think that he wouldn't be able to tell Luthen from Krieger. I don't think he could identify the difference between the two of them. But he said he heard his voice. And I don't think that when they capture Krieger, Cyril will go ahead and say, this is, Axis, the name, or not. I think it's very interesting. And Darth Plato says that the surviving officers will say that they were forever Deidre's lead. It won't be a stretch for Deidre to take the fall. That's what I'm thinking. And so, like Cyril, now it will be Deidre's turn to be on the outside looking in. Well, I think that Deidre is going to come up with a good story thanks to Cyril, and it's going to be a spin. Cyril's not going to make the same mistake again. He's not going to let this chance pass him by. Cyril is in this one for the long haul. And now that he has Deidre's attention, so to speak, her attention, her intimate attention, I think that the two of them will be somewhat inseparable, and she will almost have no choice but to do this because she wants to have her career go on.
Yeah, I don't know if they are gonna have a romantic relationship. I don't know if they are. Her reaction to him is just it's such a fascinating relationship, because you just don't know how she is out of that uniform. What is Dedra, the woman, like? We just don't know. We only know the Imperial officer, and she, like I said, she sort of looks half repulsed, half fascinated, and half confused by his attention. She's kind of like, what are you doing? I could have you arrested, but but she doesn't. Why doesn't she? It's brilliant.
It's
so
true.
good.
It's true, but she does say, I suppose I should thank you. And for her to say that, for Dedra to say that to anybody, let alone someone who's not even her contemporary, this kid, he's not her equal. He's not her equal. This is, I'm having connectivity issues here. He's not her equal. They happen to meet by happenstance. It's they would never meet under normal conditions unless he continues to stalk her. But
Yeah,
for
but I don't think Dedra's version of thanking him is the sexy times. I think she's like, yeah, okay, you want a job, you've proven yourself to me, I'll give you a job, you know. But the way the actress portrayed it, I mean, she was in bits, she was terrified, she was absolutely terrified, she was nearly trampled to death. And like I said, for them to just not do the strong female lead thing, she's not a karate expert. She didn't kick any ass at all. She was terrified, screaming, and he saved. I just thought, oh God, I love this. More of this, more of this. Not to say that there shouldn't be female ass kickers. Of course, they are. The person I'm trying to get to interview you can kick so much ass. It's unbelievable. She break both my arms without even thinking about it, and she's tiny. But just to have that trope reversed in this show, it's such a Disney trope, isn't it? And it was just all gone. It's as I said before, even if you take the Star Wars out of it, it's still a brilliant show. I love it, and I love that character.
yes, and I sure hope you guys can see me. Maybe it's the
No, we can see you.
okay, good.
Yeah.
Hello to Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington. Hope you are well. I see you got that soccer ball in there, Gary. I'm assuming that you may be watching the cup. And Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington also has his own channel. So guys, please do check that out. Bonzo Kilburn says that Cyril and Dedra were made for each other. And Stubble mentions, I was constantly surprised by the writing. It was surprising and satisfying.
Yes.
You know something? I gotta say, Russ, and I've always like I try to reiterate this. The reason why I like to see sex scenes, intimacy, nudity is because that's how people communicate, and it's a normal part of our lives. And I think when they've been moving away from these intimate connections, these interludes where we're seeing people together, we're seeing people communicate, men, women, whatever, families, there are these intimate connections, these intimate activities that people have, and that's the way people communicate. Once we stop seeing that on screen, you know, it feels very empty and cold. As Lorena and I've talked about this as well, but you have these interactions between people that don't mean anything when you don't have those exchanges of intimacy, whether it's romantic or otherwise. Cyril and Dedra now have this connection together. They're tight. They're
They're
tight.
tight.
But, you know,
Is it romantic? I don't know. I don't know, and I don't think anybody. There's no evidence. All right, I know lots of people like to, you know, there's lots of shipping going on online with this stuff, but there's no evidence to suggest that there will be. It's just, what is she like? What is Dedra the person like? And we just don't know. And I love that about her. I think yeah, she's literally my favorite Star Wars character. There's so much going on with. I know everybody loves Luthen, but I'll take Dedra any day of the week.
well, Retro Nerd Girl says, I can see Dedra and Cyril together, but off screen, I think they will work together. He will be rewarded for saving her. Good point. And it's a well noted. Bonzo says the way she said, I should say thank you. She wanted to say something other than thank you. And Stubble has already asked me, what would a romantic encounter between the two of them be like? And I said, well, I can't say for certain what Dedra's preferences are, what she enjoys, but I'm sure that it'll sound something like this. I guess I should say thank you. I guess I should say thank you. I guess I should say thank you. More or less, guys.
I'll have what Dedra's having.
That's right. That's right. But this might be something she needs, because remember, relationships are things that people need. You need to depend on people. Think about the relationship of Cassian and Marva. It's not his real mom. His father, that wasn't his real dad, but it was important. He needed that support. They meant everything to him. He risked getting killed to go and bring Marva to a safe place. You know, these relationships are so important. We see familial relationships. We see, cousins with Mon Mothma and her cousin, who are really concerned about what's going to happen now. They are terrified what's going to happen. Mon Mothma is concerned for her daughter. We're seeing some incredible moments fold out in this. And once again, we're also seeing situations of men who are not, it's not their child, but Luthen is kind of guiding, he's kind of taken over a role of a father figure, or let's say a mature man's figure to a younger person. And it's really important because, gee, isn't it pretty clear that Andor needs that right now? He needs someone. He's lost his whole family now. This is something that where he's made new connections. It's so important for this to be there. And Dedra needs someone. Dedra
Mm.
and Cyril need someone. It's hard being at home all day eating, your cereal with that blue milk. It's not easy.
No,
It's
it's
not
not.
easy going home with your mom going, what are you up to today?
I must say, if there's anything we can catch up on, because I actually have to, I've got a hard stop pretty soon. I've got to go and pick my daughter up from boxing. So, yeah, 6 o'clock. So it's 5:20 here now. So I have to get a shake on. I'm really sorry.
Yes, no, it's almost time to end the show, Russ, because we're hitting the 2 hour mark. So,
Mhm.
the Outcast Creative says, love is the main reason. Join or fight a cause for people you love to protect them. So, it's good to have these stakes. Yes, I agree with you, Outcast Creative. Everybody is mentioning how good the writing is. And Stubble says they made Deidre sympathetic in the beginning when she was an underdog, and that changed into a natural way from sympathy to fascination. Darth Plato
Mm.
says, will we see the real question, Darth Plato, is will Cyril meet Dedra's
Meet
mom
the
and vice
parents. Yeah.
versa? Just like what we saw with the Mothmas, everybody. RPG Mods fan, hey, how are you? It's beer time for you? Yeah, well, it's almost beer time here as well. We hope you're well, and thank you for stopping by. Oh, what's this? Sorry, guys, for not responding for something that you said to me. The problem is that I use, oh, no problem. No problem. Good to see you, Mario. We hope you're great. Don't worry about it. We can't get to everything. It's really great to see you, Mario. Retro Nerd Girl says, I think Cyril is eager to please Deidre because she will gladly accept it now because she is seeing that she's vulnerable and he can watch her back and keep her safe.
Mm.
Absolutely. I've got to say, certainly
I,
this
I
is something.
I agree with your take, Retro No Girl.
Yes. And with that, Russ, um, do you, Ronzo Kilborn is asking us to compare Dedra to more of the traditional legacy characters.
I'm
Um,
I'm gonna say yeah, because I haven't really thought about those guys in such a, maybe when I was younger, I would have said, Darth Vader or General V. I actually loved General Veers. I thought he was brilliant. Maximilian Target, maximum firepower. What a guy. But yeah, okay, recently then I would say I just think her character she just grabbed me from the first moment and pulled me in, and I'm on that journey with her. And Cyril, I loved Cyril as well. I'm as I said, Andor didn't have any agency, and what was going on around him, what the stuff he was been pushed into was fascinating because he was our view into that universe, and that's why he's confused as we are. But those two characters, the way it's such a unique way to portray Imperials. That's what I think. That's what got me about this is like for the first time, really in Star Wars, maybe outside of Rogue One, you're actually seeing why the Empire is such a big deal, why they're so scary. Yet these people are scarily competent, and in this show, the stormtroopers are elite troops. They can shoot. They're like the U.S. Marines in this regard. They're great, and it's just yeah, it's top draw. I can't. I've got to run out of superlatives. I loved it, man. I just loved it.
well, I loved it too. And there's so much more, guys. What I was going to say is certainly for those of you who haven't watched it, please watch it. And we're going to wrap up the show now. What I am going to say also is, Russ, where can people find you?
Well, I have my 1,000 year out of date website at russellwhitfield.com, and I can be found here most Sundays. But more importantly, yeah, she does, Stubble. She absolutely does, and I'm dying to find out what she's like outside of that uniform. What is the real, when she goes home at 5 o'clock? What happens? What does Dedra do? I can't wait. But more importantly, where can we find you, Arum?
Guys, you can always find me here on Positive Fandom. Please do like and subscribe to my channel. Every little bit makes a big difference. And thank you for everybody who's supported the channel so far. I do have more streams coming up. I just did a very wonderful stream with Darth Plato on All Quiet on the Western Front review. Mikey Lito, thank you for the $2 super chat. That is so generous. We so appreciate it, Mikey Lito. Certainly, guys, check out Mikey Lito's channel as well. And guys, I also have more of my series of Coruscant Corner. As an insider, I tell you what's really going on behind the scenes, especially at the time of Andor. So do check that out.
I
But
must just say sorry, Mikey. All proceeds go to RM. That's it. So it's all for her. But pray continue. Sorry.
Well, I'm willing to share. I can share. And if Mikey Lito wants it to go to you, that's fine as well.
That's fine.
But you know, honestly, I do just want to thank you, Mike Alito, for your continued support and for being on the channel numerous times. We so do enjoy you being here, Mike Alito, and check out his channel as well, everybody. Also on Mondays, I'm going to be on the Burr Network, formerly the Post Geek Singularity, with Lorena Creole for Ladies of the PGS at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sometimes you can find me on the 1/6 Scale Man Network, either on Say What or Uncivilized Scoundrels. You can also find me on Lorena Creole's channel, everybody, where we do our Toxic Male Appreciation Show on her Twitch channel, as well as watch parties coming up this week. And sometimes I'm on Midnight's Edge in the morning. But do please check all of those things out, including my continuing series, Coruscant Corner. What's happening? As I tell you what's going on behind the scenes. There's so much more. If you liked Andor, come and check out more Andor here. Information, stuff that you may not know yet, but I'm dying to tell you right here on Positive Fandom. So
they're great. They're great vignettes. They really are.
Thank you so much, Russ. And for everybody out there, thank you, Tom Jr. Jackson. We are all goof people. Check out his channel as well. For all of you out there, no matter where you are in the galaxy, always do remember to please be kind, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Thanks so much, everyone. Bye-bye.